In the late 19th century, as European powers scrambled to carve up Africa into colonies, one nation stood defiant: Ethiopia. Unlike much of the continent, Ethiopia had a long history of independence, led by its fiercely proud people and strategic leaders. But in 1896, their sovereignty faced its gravest threat when the Kingdom of Italy sought to colonize the nation. What followed was one of the most significant battles in African history, the Battle of Adwa, where Emperor Menelik II and his people united to deliver a decisive blow to Italian ambitions. The seeds of the conflict were sown in the late 1880s, when Italy, having already claimed the coastal territory of Eritrea, sought to expand its control further into Ethiopian lands. They signed the Treaty of Wuchale with Emperor Menelik II, believing it would allow them to exert influence over Ethiopia. However, there was a crucial difference in the treaty's wording. The Italian version of the treaty effectively made Ethiopia a protectorate, while the Amharic version gave Menelik the freedom to engage with other European powers. Realizing Italy's intentions, Menelik II refused to submit to their demands. Diplomatic negotiations failed, and in 1895, the Italians marched into Ethiopia, confident of a swift victory. As the Italian army advanced, Emperor Menelik II called upon the Ethiopian people to defend their land. Menelik's leadership was not just a matter of military prowess. It was a unifying force. He brought together Ethiopia's diverse ethnic groups, including the Amhara, Oromo, Tigrayans, and others. Never before had the nation been so united under one cause: to protect their sovereignty. Menelik, alongside his wife, Empress Taitu, sent out messages to all corners of the empire, summoning warriors, farmers, and even priests to prepare for battle. The response was overwhelming. An army of over 100,000 Ethiopians from various regions assembled, all driven by the shared desire to repel the foreign invaders. This was no ordinary army. It was a national movement. While Ethiopia was united, the Italian forces were overconfident and underprepared. Led by General Oreste Baratieri, the Italian army comprised roughly 17,000 troops, including European soldiers and colonial recruits. They marched through Ethiopia's rugged terrain, underestimating both the land and the people they sought to conquer. The journey was grueling, supply lines were stretched thin, and morale began to falter. Despite these challenges, the Italians believed their superior technology, particularly their modern rifles and artillery, would guarantee victory against what they perceived to be a less organized and less advanced Ethiopian force. Little did they know, Menelik's army was well equipped, having obtained modern weapons through strategic alliances with European powers. More importantly, the Ethiopian forces knew their terrain intimately and had the will of a united nation behind them. By late February 1896, the stage was set for a monumental clash. Both armies camped near the town of Adwa, nestled in the mountainous northern region of Ethiopia. On the eve of battle, Menelik and Empress Taitu spoke to their people, urging them to fight for their freedom, their faith, and their ancestors. The warriors, many of them armed with spears, shields, and rifles, knelt in prayer, seeking the blessings of their ancestors and the protection of their God. Across the field, the Italians made their final preparations, unaware of the full strength and resolve of the Ethiopian army awaiting them. General Baratieri hesitated, knowing his forces were tired and demoralized, but political pressure from Rome forced him to proceed with the attack. On the morning of March 1st, 1896, the battle began. The Italians launched a surprise attack, but the Ethiopian forces, with their superior knowledge of the terrain, quickly outmaneuvered them. Menelik had strategically positioned his forces in three main divisions: surrounding the Italians on all sides. The Italian troops were caught off guard by the sheer size and determination of the Ethiopian army. As wave after wave of Ethiopian warriors descended from the hills, the Italians struggled to hold their lines. Empress Taitu herself led a battalion of artillery, further boosting the morale of the Ethiopian fighters. The battle raged for hours, with hand-to-hand combat and volleys of rifle fire echoing across the valley. The Italian army, unable to cope with the overwhelming Ethiopian forces, began to disintegrate. Soldiers fled in panic, while others were captured or killed. The Ethiopian victory was total and decisive. By the end of the day, Ethiopia had achieved what no other African nation had done before. It had decisively defeated a European colonial power. Thousands of Italian soldiers were either dead or taken prisoner, and their defeat sent shockwaves across Europe. Emperor Menelik II, ever a strategic leader, chose not to pursue the fleeing Italians. Instead, he negotiated a peace that solidified Ethiopia's independence. The Treaty of Addis Ababa, signed later that year, forced Italy to recognize Ethiopia's sovereignty and relinquish any claims over the nation. The Battle of Adwa became a symbol of African resistance against colonialism, not just for Ethiopia, but for the entire continent. Menelik II's leadership and the unity of the Ethiopian people proved that Africa was not a land to be easily conquered. The victory inspired other anti-colonial movements and remains a source of national pride in Ethiopia to this day. Ethiopia would go on to be one of the few African nations to maintain its independence throughout the scramble for Africa, standing as a beacon of hope and resilience. The Battle of Adwa was more than just a military victory. It was a triumph of spirit, unity, and the unwavering determination of a people to remain free. To this day, the echoes of Adwa resonate across Africa, reminding us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, the fight for freedom is always worth waging. Hope you enjoyed this story video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.